Okay, let's unpack this. We all experience stress, right? That sort of jolt or tension when things get tough. It's perfectly normal, sometimes even helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah, your
Yeah.
body's wired to react.
Yep.
But the sources we're looking at today, CDC, Help Guide, WebMD, Mayo Clinic, they really zero in on chronic stress. That's the long-term stuff.
Right, the kind that creeps up and can really damage your health, both physically and mentally, often without you even noticing at first.
Exactly. It's not just feeling frazzled. It's linked to, actual health problems.
So, our mission here is to dive into these sources, see what they highlight about this chronic stress, and pull out the practical things they say you can actually do about it, the real world strategies.
Well, fundamentally, stress is just that response, physical, emotional, to pressure. Could be external stuff, could be internal thoughts. But like you said, the key distinction these sources make is between temporary stress, which passes, and chronic stress.
And that chronic kind. What does it actually do according to these guides?
Well, they list quite a bit. It can worsen things like heart issues, digestive problems, uh, anxiety, depression, and it shows up in maybe unexpected ways,
Mm.
like constant headaches, finding it hard to focus, being more irritable, even changes in how you eat or sleep.
Okay, so it's pervasive. But the hopeful message I'm seeing across all these sources is that managing it, it's about taking charge.
Yes, taking charge of how you react, your surroundings, your choices, you often have more control, more agency than you might realize. That's a really consistent theme.
So where do you start? How do you get a handle on it?
The first step, they pretty much all agree, is figuring out your specific triggers. What sets you off? Help Guide and WebMD suggest keeping a stress journal.
A journal, how does that help?
It helps you spot patterns, not just what stresses you out, but also how you tend to react. And, that can shine a light on coping habits that maybe aren't so helpful.
Like withdrawing or maybe overeating, putting things off.
Exactly those kinds of things. Once you see your triggers and your current reactions, then you can start looking at healthier ways to cope. And the sources offer a ton of strategies, often grouped around the mind-body connection.
Okay, mind body, like exercise. I saw that mentioned a lot.
Oh, yeah, exercise is huge.
Yeah.
The CDC, for instance, really emphasizes it. Regular activity releases endorphins, those natural mood lifters, and helps lower stress hormones like cortisol.
Does it have to be intense?
Not necessarily. Even just small bits of movement during the day can help. Though aiming for about 2.5 hours of moderate activity a week seems to be a common guideline. Plus, it helps you sleep better.
Ah, sleep. That feels fundamental. These sources really stress, no pun intended, how important it is.
Totally. Lack of sleep is a stressor itself. It creates this awful cycle. Getting 7 or more hours for adults is pretty vital for recovery and just handling things better.
So things like a regular bedtime, making your room dark and quiet, that kind of stuff.
Precisely. Creating a good sleep environment and sticking to a schedule helps train your body. And there's diet.
Right. Food. How does that fit in?
Well, healthy eating supports your immune system, which stress can weaken. Mayo Clinic and others mention specific nutrients like vitamin C, magnesium, omega-3s that might help your body manage the stress response.
And I guess limiting the bad stuff helps too, like caffeine, sugar.
Definitely. And avoiding using alcohol or drugs as a coping mechanism is crucial. That can just pile on more problems.
Okay, so move more, sleep better, eat well. What about like in the moment techniques when you're feeling stressed right now?
Great question. That's where relaxation techniques come in. Deep breathing, especially belly breathing, meditation, yoga, these are consistently recommended. They actively counteract the body's stress response, triggering relaxation.
Belly breathing, like breathing deeply into your stomach.
Exactly. It activates the body's natural calming system. Some sources even mention things like biofeedback or, believe it or not, laughter therapy.
Interesting. Okay, so that covers the sort of internal mind body stuff. What about practical external strategies?
Yeah, the sources hit on those too. Time management is a big one. Help Guide talks about not overcommitting, setting priorities, breaking big tasks down, delegating if you can, basically reducing that feeling of being overwhelmed.
Makes sense. And connecting with people. I saw that mentioned.
Hugely important. WebMD points out that actual face-to-face interaction can trigger hormones, like oxytocin, that buffer the fight or flight response. Talking to friends, family.
Even if they can't fix the problem.
Yeah, often it's just about being heard, getting perspective. That social support builds resilience. It's a common thread.
And boundaries. Learning to say no.
Essential. Saying no to things that overload you.
Yeah.
And also controlling your environment where you can. Maybe limiting news intake if that stresses you out, or avoiding situations or people that consistently drain you.
Okay, so physical health, relaxation, practical steps. What about mindset? Attitude.
That's maybe the most powerful piece. Changing your reaction is often more doable than changing the stressor itself. The sources talk about frameworks like the 4 A's: avoid, alter, adapt, accept.
Avoid, alter, adapt, accept. Can you break that down a bit?
Sure, avoid unnecessary stress.
Hmm.
Say no. Alter the situation. Be assertive. Manage time better. Adapt to the stressor. This is big, like reframing the problem, adjusting your standards, finding gratitude. And accept what you truly can't change. Practicing forgiveness, sharing feelings rather than bottling them up.
So adapting and accepting involves shifting your perspective.
Exactly. Managing that inner voice, you know, challenging negative thoughts, trying to replace them with more positive or realistic ones. That's key for adapting and accepting.
It sounds like there's no single magic bullet then.
Not at all. The sources really emphasize experimenting. Try different things, see what combination works for you, build your own personal stress management toolkit.
And if it still feels like too much, if you're really struggling,
Then seeking support is absolutely the right move. It's a sign of strength, not weakness.
right?
Therapists, counselors, crisis lines like 988, they're there to help. The sources are unified on that.
Okay. So stress happens, but managing it is an active thing we do. It builds resilience.
Precisely. It's not just about getting through it. It's about building that capacity over time.
Here's a thought to leave you with. What if you consistently applied just one or two of these things? Say, getting 30 minutes more sleep each night, or practicing that deep breathing for 5 minutes a day. How might that compound over weeks, months? You might build this sort of stress buffer, this reserve, without even fully realizing it until you navigate the next challenge a little bit better. It's potentially not just about surviving stress, but using these tools to actually thrive.